living in the light is divine. You know, when you climb a mountain and you look out upon the goodness of the land after a long journey, in life, I want to always be in that goodness, in the light, at the top of the mountain, in the sweet times. I want to see myself in my best light. But I have found that the only way to be truly happy in the light is to look deep within and face my true self. My true self that is imperfect and full of triggers from the past, flaws, weaknesses, and mistakes that I have made along the way. As a green witch who practices wild magic, the natural world sets my passions on fire, and it's so easy for me to live in the light, the part of myself that is sunny side up. But in order to grow into my authentic self, I had to spend my fair share of time looking at the dark side of me. You see, the dark is also me, just like the light. So journey with me as I share my process for looking into the dark side of self in order to live a life clean and clear in the light. My name is Heather Lynn, if we haven't met before, and I am the Wild Woodland Witch. I would love for you to join us, so do click the like, notification bell, and subscribe if you're intrigued at any point during the video. So today, my wild ones, I wanted to share with you my new Book of Shadows, which is my main place to work with the dark side of self. Throughout the video, I will be taking you with me on my Green Witch Harvest run in the forest, I call Berry Forest, and to a glorious fairy-populated woodland path I call Wild Meadow. We will also craft the third part of a wild spell in progress, which I had started in a previous video, and I will link that video above if you'd like to visit it. We will end this video crafting a summer drinkable potion and make some wild berry jam. May all of our lives be blessed as we journey together, and keep on watching. A Book of Shadows can be many things, and some witches like to use it as a grimoire of sorts, a place to keep spells, recipes, sigils, and memories from magical workings. But as I understand it, a Book of Shadows is really meant to be a place to work with the dark side of ourselves. It's not a place to look down on ourselves for past mistakes, but rather it's a place to shed a little light on events, memories, and feelings that we hide in the shadow of ourselves. These things we hide can make us act or react a certain way, often without our conscious mind even knowing. If you find yourself ever saying, "I don't know why I said that," or "I don't know why I acted like that," likely you were acting from out of your shadow self. This shadow self is part of who we are, but it's also changeable and moldable. And when we look upon these parts of our past, we must do so cautiously. For those with painful memories or abuse in their past, seeking traditional therapy or support is often a must in addition to a Book of Shadows. We must be careful when we are attempting to heal our shadow selves. A Book of Shadows is a journey to document the feelings that come up, process them, and hopefully come to a place of understanding. Often an awakening happens next. Sometimes feelings come up that are scary, or a realization comes to the surface. Clearing out the cobwebs of the mind has been a long journey for me, and it's often one that takes years. In my own life, I have had 3 Book of Shadows, and this one will be my 4th. This process for me has been important, and I believe it is why I am confident and forgiving of myself. I certainly have cleared out shame, which took almost a decade, but there still is more to do. I write in this book weekly, or if something comes up that I randomly need to process, I have used many ways to get to the bottom of my feelings, and it's worth exploring witchy and non-witchy type approaches to enter the psyche too, because there are many ways to communicate to the shadow self, and you will have to find the way that works for you. For me, my main ways are talking to myself out loud, writing to myself, and allowing myself to answer back or write back. Because I do believe that I have all the answers within, it's just a matter of trusting myself. I also like to speak to my dead relatives, specifically my father, and I love the Sedona method. I also use a ritual where I start with yelling, typically in the forest, and I use a large branch to swing and even hit the earth too. In this way, I am able to tap into my own anger. Usually, under my anger is pain or hurt, and then from there, everything comes pouring out. I use my Book of Shadows to write in after or during the performance of this ritual. Anger is my biggest mask. Personally, I hide all of my feelings underneath anger. It's a way of protecting myself. So once I break through this anger, I can peel away the real feelings beneath. It's also worth mentioning that the term shadow was coined not by a witch at all, but by a famous Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, Carl Jung, who described it as the unconscious and the disowned part of our personalities that the ego fails to see, acknowledge, and accept. I will link 2 of my favorite videos created by witches on shadow work below for you, so you can explore the topic further, and let me know if you want me to share more on my shadow work, as it is such a cornerstone of my daily life. Just as shadow work is part of my daily life, so is spell work, so let's finish a wild magic living spell. A living spell is a spell that continues. It may be 2 or 3 parts, and it's almost always a manifestation spell of sorts. It typically lives in action for about 28 and a half days, the full moon cycle from the full moon to the new moon, or the new moon cycle from the new moon to the full moon, which is the case for this spell. A living spell is needed when you want to call upon the initial crafting of a spell and reawaken it as its manifestation is taking place in real time. So the spell goes through a few rounds of being called upon, and I find that the final wave is the most powerful. I love this kind of spell. This living spell is in its 3rd phase, and it's been a source of comfort for my family as we are all actively manifesting a collective project. The spell is a grounding spell to find a home base for our work. So in this phase, beeswax was added, crafted by the bees of my hive, and 3 hawthorn berries were also added. I want to pause here and mention that I actually have no idea why I felt the need to add 3 hawthorn berries. And here you can see wild magic in action. I just trusted myself. I trusted that they were needed, so I added them. The idea came from an intuitive source. Was it me? Was it spirit? Either way, there was trust. Often after a spell is complete, I will go and look it up. And time again, it was absolutely needed, and it was always perfect. In fact, if I had researched what herbs to use, I might not have chosen her at all. As I use signs around me in my own life, like with animal sightings to aid me in my spell work, I understand this aspect of hawthorn only because of my noticing the fox appearing in my own life throughout this spell. I have seen a fox 3 times. I have not seen a fox in over 2 years, so the fox was very obviously present for magical purposes. To me, wild magic is living in the light. It's living in the present and being in tune with the signs from the natural world, which I do feel are signs from not only my own power as a witch in the world, but from a divine source that I am absolutely part of. As a witch, I feel I was born with intuition to understand this and to live between the spirit or life force and the earthly realm. And in a way, my tools are from the earthly realm as a green witch, and my way of working with those tools stem from hedge magic. I will never not be fascinated with my own magic, but I am absolutely fascinated by yours. So share with us below anything you want to share. Come hang out with me on Instagram, would love it. I love learning about how other witches work magic or life force in their own way, and I appreciate and value everybody's opinion on how they see this great amount of life force that we are living and working with daily. However you practice magic and what you believe is just perfect for you. And I'm here to say that you're doing it right, even if it's different from everybody else, and even if you don't want to call it magic at all. I share this message because for years I felt my magic wasn't even magic at all, because it wasn't like the way it looked. And for me, it took another witch friend of mine to say to me, "You are you, and that is magic. This is magic, Hev." I look back and I laugh. I joyfully live in the light, and I laugh at myself. I laugh at whatever force was telling me that I needed to confine and fit into something. I mean, that was just the silliest thing. If you've been watching my videos before, you're probably pretty confused because I do march to the beat of my own drum, but sometimes even I get it wrong. Sometimes I'm a human and I'm influenced by other people. We all are, so we have to be kind to ourselves, even if we make mistakes, or even if we haven't found our way. That's what life is for. It's for living and for experiencing and making lots of mistakes. And mistakes are good because we learn about ourselves that way. I mean, some mistakes are terrible and we should really try to avoid certain things that hurt other people. But if we make a mistake that doesn't hurt anybody and it's just an opportunity to learn, that's what I mean is wonderful. And we should embrace that and grow from it. So here is one small, simple recipe potion for you. It's a self-confidence, accept yourself potion. All you do is brew your favorite tea, make any kind of lemonade, and mix them equal parts. Drop in a few of your favorite fruits, or perhaps a favorite herb, and choose salt intuitively. Say as you pour it or drink it, "I am enough. I am amazing. I accept myself. I am free to be confident. I make space to be confident. And maybe finally, I am confident." So you just crafted a wild magic spell. And now you can go and look up the correspondences for your tea, your fruit of choice, and your herb, and the color of your drink even. And by doing this, you can add power to the spell or to the potion itself in the after effects. For those of us who don't have the time to memorize every correspondence or to plan out a spell ahead of time, this works like a charm. It's not for everybody, but it can safely bring some amazing spell work that might not have been able to be born had the freedom to craft it not been present. So let's live into the light, but not be blinded to think that we do not have a shadow self, to think that we are above needing to grow, learn, or evolve. And that is what I wanted to share with you today, Wild Ones. So blessings to your magic, whether you dwell in the light or the dark, and come and find me again.